Jason Statham had always believed that the true essence of a film set wasn't found in the director's chair, or among the expensive equipment. The real heart of production lived in the quiet dedication of those adjusting lights, the hurried footsteps of camera operators between takes, and especially in the determined faces of the stunt crew, those unsung heroes behind every action sequence he'd ever performed. Years in the industry had taught him that flawless productions didn't happen because of big budgets or perfect acting. The authentic story unfolded behind the scenes, in hushed conversations during lunch breaks and those late-night rehearsals when nobody was watching, and sometimes in the silent struggles of those who couldn't afford to walk away from their jobs. That's why Jason occasionally made unannounced visits to his film sets, not as Hollywood royalty but as a silent observer. Today, dressed in worn jeans, a simple hoodie, and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, he slipped onto the set of his latest action thriller without fanfare. No entourage, no special treatment, just a man blending into the world of those who made his career possible. The set hummed with controlled chaos as he moved through it, watching stunt performers practice dangerous maneuvers, while special effects teams carefully prepared explosive sequences. Camera operators tested various angles with practiced precision as assistants rushed between departments, juggling countless tasks. From a distance, everything appeared to run smoothly, but experience had taught Jason that appearances often concealed deeper truths. Before I continue with what Jason discovered, I'd love to know if you're enjoying my storytelling approach. Drop a quick comment with more if you want me to continue in this style, or change if you'd prefer something different. Your feedback helps me craft stories you'll truly enjoy. As Jason quietly navigated through the bustling set, his attention was suddenly drawn to a scene unfolding at the far end of the stunt training area. There, he spotted a young woman named Mia, hunched over a wooden crate, her entire posture radiating distress. She was clad in full stunt gear, gripping the crate's edge tightly, her shoulders trembling slightly. The surrounding noise of the set faded as he focused on her, and he soon caught the sound of muffled sobs escaping her lips, quickly stifled as she attempted to regain her composure. Jason paused, his heart sinking. This wasn't just the typical stress or exhaustion that often came with the demanding nature of film work. This was something deeper, something that indicated she was on the verge of breaking. A young stuntman, perhaps no older than 23, knelt beside her, his expression a mix of concern and urgency. "You can't let him keep doing this to you," the young man, named Eric, said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. His gaze was filled with empathy, and Jason could sense the desperation behind his words. Mia shook her head, her grip on the crate tightening. "I don't have a choice," she replied, the fear evident in her voice. "If I don't do what he says, I'm out of a job. I need this for my family, my son. His medical bills are piling up." Jason felt a surge of anger and sadness as he listened to her plight. He had come to observe the camaraderie and dedication of the crew, but instead, he had stumbled upon something far more troubling. An abusive dynamic that exploited the vulnerability of those who worked tirelessly to bring stories to life. Before he could fully process the implications of what he had heard, the assistant director barked orders for the next scene. Mia inhaled sharply, hastily wiping her eyes and straightening her posture, trying to mask her emotional struggle. It was clear to Jason that she was a fighter. Her determination shone through as she clenched her fists and took a deep breath, ready to face the next challenge. Yet, the truth of her situation remained stark. She felt trapped. Jason's gaze shifted to the man overseeing the stunt crew, Tom Holloway, a polished and authoritative figure in his mid-40s. Tom exuded an air of control, his demeanor suggesting he was more of a tyrant than a leader. He was not just managing the stunts. He was orchestrating a system of fear that kept the crew in line. Jason had encountered men like Tom before. Individuals who wielded power like a weapon, well aware of how far they could push before their victims broke. While his first instinct was to confront Tom directly and put a stop to the exploitation he had just witnessed, Jason quickly realized that such a move might not bring about the change he desired. Tom was not the type to crumble under pressure, especially from a celebrity. Instead, Jason understood he needed to be strategic. He stepped back, positioning himself near the stunt prep area, blending into the background while keeping his ears tuned to the unfolding drama. It didn't take long before Jason's suspicions were confirmed. "You know the deal, Maya." Tom's voice cut through the air, smooth yet laced with menace. "You need this job, don't you? So stop complaining and just do what I tell you." Jason watched as Mia clenched her fists at her sides, her body tense with suppressed emotions. She didn't respond. She merely stood there, a victim of Tom's manipulation. The assistant director had retreated to the sidelines, arms crossed, watching the interaction unfold with a mix of discomfort and resignation. Your son's still in the hospital, isn't he? Tom continued, his tone deceptively calm. How are those medical bills looking? A wave of fury surged through Jason. Mia stiffened, and he could see her jaw tightening as she fought against the urge to react. This was the moment. Enough was enough. Jason took a decisive step forward, breaking the tension that hung in the air. Hey, Tom, he called out, his voice steady and deliberate. The chatter on set came to an abrupt halt as everyone turned to see what was happening. Tom's irritation morphed into surprise as he recognized who had spoken. Mr. Statham, he replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. What brings you down here? I think we need to talk, Jason said, his tone unwavering. A silence fell over the crew, tension palpable as they awaited Tom's response. Jason's presence demanded respect, and he could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone around them. Tom, attempting to regain his poise, chuckled dismissively. This is just a misunderstanding, Jason. Mia and I have an understanding about how things work here. Jason's expression hardened. No, Tom. What you're doing is exploiting someone who deserves better. This ends now. The crew exchanged nervous glances as the atmosphere shifted. Jason's voice resonated with authority, and for the first time, Maya allowed herself to hope that someone was standing up for her. As the confrontation escalated, the stakes grew higher, and every eye on set was glued to the unfolding drama, waiting to see how this battle of wills would resolve. Jason stood his ground, locked in a tense stare with Tom, who was visibly trying to regain control of the situation. The air around them felt electric, charged with the unspoken fears and hopes of the crew members who watched with bated breath. Jason knew that this moment could be pivotal, not just for Mia, but for everyone who had been caught in Tom's web of manipulation. Tom's confident facade began to crack as he realized that Jason wasn't backing down. You're out of your depth here, Statham, he sneered, attempting to assert his authority. This is my department, and I run it how I see fit. You're just an actor. Jason took a step closer, his voice low but firm. You think that gives you the right to bully people? To use their struggles against them? That's not leadership, that's abuse. He felt the weight of his words hanging in the air, and he could see the crew's eyes widen in surprise at his boldness. Mia stood beside him, her body tense but her spirit visibly rekindled by Jason's defense. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. Jason turned to her and nodded subtly, encouraging her to find her voice. She inhaled sharply, her chest rising as she prepared to speak. Tom, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, turned his attention back to Maya, his demeanor shifting from anger to cold manipulation. Mia, you know how this works. Just tell him everything is fine. We don't want any trouble, right? His voice was deceptively soft, as if trying to coax her into compliance. Jason took another step forward, his presence commanding. Mia, you don't have to say anything you don't want to. This isn't normal, and you shouldn't have to endure it. You deserve to work in an environment where you're respected, not exploited. Mia's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but she nodded slowly, emboldened by Jason's unwavering support. She finally found her voice. It's not fine, Tom. I've been pushed to my breaking point, and I can't keep doing this. I need to take care of my son, and I can't do that when I'm constantly worried about losing my job because you threaten me. Tom's expression darkened, and he took a step closer to Mia, invading her personal space. You think you're the only one with problems. Everyone here has a story. But in this business you have to toughen up. If you can't handle it, maybe you shouldn't be in this line of work. Jason intervened, placing himself between Mia and Tom, his posture radiating protectiveness. No one should have to suffer in silence just to keep a job. This is about more than just you pushing people to their limits. It's about the culture of fear you've created. It ends today. For the first time, Jason witnessed a flicker of doubt in Tom's eyes. The crew, once paralyzed by fear, started to shift uneasily, exchanging glances as the tide began to turn. They had quietly supported each other, but now they were witnessing someone challenge the status quo. The shift was palpable. Listen, Jason. Tom began, his tone a mix of irritation and desperation. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Mia and I have a professional relationship. I push her because I know she can take it. Pushing someone isn't the same as abusing them. Jason shot back, his voice steady. You're manipulating her, using her personal struggles as leverage. That's not how you lead. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions. As Jason's words hung in the air, the tension among the crew escalated. Some of them nodded in agreement, their expressions shifting from fear to solidarity. They had endured Tom's tactics for far too long, and Jason's intervention was an awakening. Tom hesitated, his bravado faltering as he realized he was losing the support of those around him. The silence was deafening, and Jason seized the moment. Everyone here deserves respect, and it's time for a change. We can't allow this environment to continue. It's toxic, and it's hurting people." Maya's breathing steadied as she began to feel the weight of her situation lift slightly. With Jason by her side, she felt empowered to stand up for herself. "I'm tired of feeling trapped, and I won't let fear dictate my life any longer," she said, her voice gaining strength. Tom's expression shifted from annoyance to frustration, but he could see that the crew was no longer intimidated. They were ready to support one another, and he was losing his grip on the situation. Jason stepped forward, his tone resolute. "You have two choices, Tom. You can leave now, or we can escalate this to the producers and HR. Either way, this stops today." In that moment, Jason's words resonated with the crew, and they felt the power of unity. It became clear that the system of fear Tom had cultivated was crumbling, and they were ready to stand together against it. The stakes were high, but the change they craved was finally within reach. The tension in the air felt thick as Jason made his ultimatum clear. Tom's demeanor shifted from one of bluster to a cautious calculation. He could sense the tide turning against him. The crew's solidarity was a new force he hadn't anticipated. For a moment he hesitated, weighing his options as he tried to maintain an air of authority. "Who do you think you are, Jason?" Tom spat, attempting to regain some semblance of control. "You're just an actor. This isn't your set, and you have no right to dictate how I run my crew." Jason met his gaze without flinching. "You're right. I'm an actor, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stand by and watch you mistreat hardworking people. This is about integrity, not just authority." The crew watched in silence, their eyes darting between Jason and Tom. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a mixture of fear and hope. Mia stood beside Jason, her heart pounding as she processed the gravity of the situation. She had never imagined someone would stand up for her like this, and the realization filled her with courage. "Let's be clear," Jason continued, his voice steady and commanding. "What you're doing is unacceptable, and it's time to face the consequences. This isn't just about Mia. This is about everyone who's been affected by your abuse of power. You've created a toxic environment, and we won't tolerate it any longer." Tom's bravado began to wane as Jason's words resonated with the crew. He could see the support for Jason building, and it terrified him. The once silent voices of his crew were now speaking out through their expressions, and Tom felt the walls closing in. "Fine," Tom said, finally dropping the facade. "You think you can just come in here and take over? I've been in this business long enough to know how to handle people like you." Jason shook his head. "This isn't about handling anyone. This is about doing what's right. You've been using fear and manipulation to control your crew, and that ends now." With a deep breath, Jason turned to the crew, who were now gathering closer, emboldened by the confrontation. "We're all here because we love what we do, but we deserve to do it in an environment that respects us. No one should have to fear losing their job because of a bully." Mia felt a wave of gratitude wash over her as Jason spoke on behalf of everyone. She had been carrying the weight of her situation alone for too long, and seeing the support of her colleagues made her realize she wasn't alone in this fight. Tom, realizing he was outnumbered and outmaneuvered, clenched his jaw in frustration. "You think you can just get rid of me? You'll regret this." Jason stepped forward, lowering his voice but maintaining a firm tone. "You're the one who should be worried, Tom. You've built a reputation that's about to crumble. The crew is standing together, and they will not allow you to manipulate them any longer. If you choose to walk away now, it may be the best decision you've ever made." The crew murmured in agreement, their solidarity growing stronger with each passing moment. Tom's expression darkened, and for the first time, he looked uncertain. The power he had wielded for so long was slipping through his fingers, and Jason knew that this was the moment to push forward. "Enough!" Tom finally shouted, his voice cracking under the pressure. "You think you're all so noble, but you'll see. I'll find a way to make you regret this." "Regret? No one here will regret standing up for what's right," Jason replied, unwavering. "We're done with the silence. We're done with allowing fear to dictate our actions. You can walk away, or you can face the consequences of your actions. The choice is yours." Mia felt a surge of hope as the crew rallied around Jason. They had found their voice, and it was powerful. Tom's facade was crumbling, and he could sense that the ground beneath him was shifting. With a final glare, Tom turned on his heel and stormed off the set, muttering under his breath. The moment he left, the tension that had gripped the crew began to lift. A collective sigh of relief filled the air, and slowly, the crew members began to exchange glances, their expressions shifting from fear to triumph. Jason turned to Mia, who looked both relieved and bewildered. "Has really gone," she asked, her voice shaky. Jason nodded, offering her a reassuring smile. He won't be coming back, and if he tries, we'll stand together. Everyone here will support you. Maya's eyes brimmed with tears, but this time they were tears of relief. She had never felt so supported, so seen. I can't believe this is happening, she whispered, still processing the moment. Jason took a step back, allowing the crew to gather around Mia. This is just the beginning, he said, his voice carrying a sense of determination. We have the chance to change the culture here, to create an environment where everyone feels safe and respected. As the crew began to share their own experiences, the atmosphere shifted from one of fear to one of empowerment. They had witnessed a significant change, and together, they would ensure that this moment would not be forgotten. As the tension in the air began to dissipate, a sense of camaraderie washed over the crew. They had just witnessed a monumental shift, one that had the potential to change the culture on set for the better. Jason stood at the center of it all, feeling the weight of the moment as he absorbed the mixed emotions swirling around him. Relief, gratitude, and a newfound sense of empowerment. Maya, still trembling with a mix of disbelief and exhilaration, looked around at her colleagues. Their faces were lit with hope, and she realized that she wasn't alone anymore. They had all been affected by Tom's oppressive tactics, but now, united, they were ready to forge a new path. Can you believe he actually left? Mia said, her voice still shaky but filled with a hint of joy. The crew members around her exchanged smiles, their spirits lifted by the unexpected turn of events. Jason stepped forward, addressing everyone. This isn't just about one person leaving. It's about all of us coming together to create a supportive environment. We need to ensure that this culture of fear doesn't return. It's time for accountability and change. The crew nodded, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to determination. They had lived in the shadow of Tom's bullying for far too long, and now they were ready to take a stand. Let's talk about how we can make things better, Jason suggested, his tone encouraging. We need to create an atmosphere where everyone feels safe to speak up and share their experiences. It's not just about today, it's about building a foundation for the future. Mia felt a surge of strength as she listened to Jason. I want to share what happened to me, she said, her voice gaining confidence. I've felt trapped for so long, but I don't want anyone else to go through what I did. We need to make sure that everyone knows they're valued here. One by one, crew members began to share their stories. Some spoke about the late nights and grueling hours they had endured, while others recounted moments when they had felt pressured to push their limits beyond what was safe. Each story added to the collective experience, creating a tapestry of shared struggles and resilience. Jason listened intently, nodding as each voice contributed to the growing conversation. This is exactly what we need, he said. We must take these experiences and turn them into actionable steps. We can't let fear dictate our work environment any longer. As discussions continued, the crew brainstormed ideas for implementing changes. They talked about establishing an open-door policy for reporting issues, creating regular check-ins to ensure everyone felt supported, and organizing workshops that focused on mental health and well-being. Mia felt a sense of purpose as she contributed her thoughts. We should also create a buddy system, she suggested. If someone is feeling overwhelmed, they can reach out to a colleague for support. We need to look out for each other. Jason smiled, impressed by Maya's initiative. That's a fantastic idea. We're all in this together, and having a support system will make a huge difference. The crew members exchanged nods of agreement, their spirits buoyed by the prospect of positive change. They were no longer just a collection of individuals working on a film, they were a community dedicated to uplifting one another. As the meeting progressed, Jason encouraged everyone to voice their ideas, ensuring that every opinion was valued. This is a collaborative effort, he reminded them. We're building a new culture together, one that prioritizes respect, safety, and well-being. The energy in the room shifted from one of apprehension to excitement. The crew began to envision a future where they could work without fear, where their contributions were recognized and appreciated. It was a transformative moment, and Jason could feel the momentum building. I'm proud of all of you for standing up today, Jason said, his voice filled with sincerity. This is just the beginning. We have the power to change not just our set, but the entire industry. Let's ensure that what happened here today echoes beyond these walls. As the meeting concluded, the crew members felt a sense of unity that they hadn't experienced before. They shared smiles and expressions of relief, knowing that they had taken a significant step toward a healthier work environment. Mia approached Jason, her eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you for standing up for me and all of us, she said, her voice filled with emotion. I never thought I could feel this safe on set. Jason smiled back, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. You all deserve to be heard and respected. Together, we can create a culture where everyone thrives. Let's keep this momentum going. As they dispersed, Jason knew that this was just the beginning. The path ahead would require diligence and commitment, but with a united front, they were ready to tackle any challenges that lay ahead. Together, they would weave a new narrative, one that prioritized respect and dignity for all. And as they moved forward, Jason couldn't help but feel optimistic about the future they were building, one where everyone could shine. The journey would be long, but they were on the right path, and he was grateful to be part of such a transformative moment. As the crew left the set that day, they took with them a renewed sense of purpose, ready to embrace the changes they had envisioned together. Their collective voices would no longer be silenced. They were determined to create a legacy of change. A legacy that would echo throughout the industry for years to come. As the crew began to disperse after their empowering meeting, the atmosphere buzzed with a newfound energy. Jason stood back, watching as former colleagues transformed into a unified team, each person energized by the promise of change. He felt a swell of pride in what they had accomplished together, knowing that they had taken the first crucial step toward dismantling the toxic environment that had plagued their set for far too long. Mia lingered near Jason, her expression a mix of relief and uncertainty. "Do you think it's really going to change?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of her earlier struggles still lingered in her mind, and she wanted to believe in the possibility of a better future. Jason turned to her, his gaze steady and reassuring. "Absolutely. Change takes time, but you've all shown today that you're willing to fight for it. The fact that you're all speaking up is already a huge step in the right direction." As they walked together toward the exit, Mia took a deep breath, feeling lighter than she had in months. "I never thought I'd find the courage to stand up for myself. It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders," she admitted, a smile breaking through her previously worried expression. Jason nodded, seeing the transformation in her. "You're stronger than you realize, Mia. Remember, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're paving the way for others who may feel trapped or afraid to speak out." The more they talked, the more others began to gather around them. Crew members who had participated in the meeting shared their thoughts and plans for moving forward, and the excitement in the air was palpable. They exchanged ideas about how to maintain the momentum they had built, brainstorming ways to keep communication open and to support one another. "Let's have regular check-ins," suggested Eric, the young stuntman who had comforted Mia earlier. "We can create a safe space where everyone feels comfortable sharing their experiences and concerns." "I love that idea," Mia chimed in. "We can even have informal gatherings after work, just to catch up and ensure we're all doing okay. It doesn't have to be just about work, it can be about building friendships." Jason listened intently, impressed by the enthusiasm and camaraderie that was blossoming among the crew. Their willingness to connect and support one another was a testament to the change they were committed to making. "Those are excellent ideas. Community is key to maintaining the culture we want. Let's make sure everyone feels included and valued." As they continued to discuss their plans, the crew members began to express their gratitude to Jason for stepping in when he did. "You really helped us find our voices," one of the camera operators said. "We've all been afraid to speak up, but seeing you stand up for Mia gave us courage." Jason waved off the praise with a humble smile. "It's not about me. It's about all of you. You've shown the strength to stand together, and that's what makes the difference. I'm just here to support you all in any way I can." As they reached the exit, Jason paused and turned to face the group. "I want you to remember that the journey doesn't end here. We need to keep advocating for ourselves and each other. We must hold each other accountable and continue to challenge any behavior that doesn't align with the culture we want to create." Mia felt a sense of determination welling up inside her. "We can do this," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. "We'll make sure no one has to go through what we did. We'll support each other every step of the way." The crew erupted in agreement, a chorus of voices affirming their commitment to change. Jason looked around, feeling a profound sense of hope. They were no longer just individuals on a film set, they were a community united by a common purpose, ready to stand together against any form of abuse or mistreatment. As they exited the studio, the sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over the group. It felt like a new beginning, a fresh start filled with possibilities. They were ready to embrace the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that they were stronger together. In the days that followed, the crew worked diligently to implement the changes they had discussed. They established regular check-ins, created a buddy system, and organized workshops focused on mental health and well-being. The atmosphere on set transformed, with laughter and collaboration replacing the tension that had once lingered in the air. Jason continued to be a steadfast ally, participating in their initiatives and lending his voice to their cause whenever necessary. While he knew that the road ahead would be filled with challenges, he was confident that the foundation they had built together would withstand any obstacles. In the end, it was clear that this journey was about more than just one film set. It was about changing the culture of an entire industry. With every step forward, they were weaving a legacy of respect and dignity, ensuring that no one would have to endure the silence and fear that had once held them captive. And as they moved forward, Jason felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had undertaken together. They were not just changing their own lives, they were changing the lives of others, one story at a time. With each passing day, they continued to rewrite the narrative, creating a brighter future for everyone in the film industry. Together, they were the flourishing tales, and their story was just beginning.